Friday, July 14, 2023. Forecasted temperature is 70 degrees with sunny skies. We left the port of Vancouver at 4:30 p.m. last Wednesday and headed north through the Inside Passage. Yesterday we were at sea the whole day, sailing up the west coast of Canada. Today we visit our first port of call, Ketchikan, Alaska. Ketchikan is the southernmost city in Alaska and is often referred to as Alaska's first city because it is the first stop for ships heading north through the Inside Passage. Alaska was a U.S. territory until it became the 49th state in 1959. At over 663,000 square miles, it is larger than the states of Texas, California, and Montana combined. Indigenous people have lived in Alaska for thousands of years. The five major groups are the Aleuts, the Inupiat, the Ute, the Athabascans, and the Tlingit. The Alaskan natives of southeastern Alaska are the Tlingit. Many of the local tour companies that provide shore excursion services to the cruise ships are owned by Alaska natives, and many of our tour guides were Tlingit. On one occasion, a Tlingit chef provided catering for the tour boat with a variety of native Alaskan food choices, which was very good. The first Europeans to colonize the area were the Russians in the beginning of the 1700s. During the 1800s, the expense and logistical difficulty of maintaining this distant possession prompted Russia to look for a buyer. At the time, Russia had many naval conflicts with Great Britain. Canada was a British colony, so when Russia needed money, they did not want to sell Alaska to Canada. The United States showed interest in buying Alaska as it was expanding west. However, the deal failed to materialize when the U.S. Civil War broke out. After the war, William Seward, the U.S. Secretary of State, negotiated the Alaska Purchase from Russia in 1867 for $7.2 million, which is around $148 million in today's money. The purchase was known as Seward's Folly because most people viewed Alaska as some frozen land of snow and ice. The U.S. then sent its military to Alaska and established Sitka as its capital. Sitka remained Alaska's capital until it was moved to Juneau in 1900. Seward's Folly turned into a gold mine by the 1890s as gold was discovered in multiple locations. The most famous was the Klondike Gold Rush in the Yukon Territory of Canada. The best way to get there was by taking a boat up the Inside Passage of Alaska to the northern tip of the Lynn Canal. Between 1896 and 1899, some 100,000 prospectors passed through the towns of Dyea and Skagway, Alaska, on their way to the gold fields in the Yukon. They were known as stampeders. Ironically, shopkeepers, prostitutes, and shady characters made more money off the prospectors passing through than what prospectors made from finding gold. While some struck it rich, the majority went home broke. There were two main routes to get to the gold fields. The Chilkoot Trail out of Dyea was shorter but a steeper climb over the mountain. The White Pass Trail out of Skagway was longer but less of an elevation. Gold prospectors spent 3 months packing their outfits up the trails and over the passes to get to the lakes on the other side. The distance from the sea to the lakes was only about 35 miles, but each individual trudged hundreds of miles back and forth along the trails, moving their gear from cache to cache. Once they got all their gear to the lakes, they built or bought boats to float the remaining 560 miles downriver to the gold fields. By 1900, the White Pass Railroad was built, ending the need to manually haul gear up and over the mountains. Today, the White Pass Railroad excursion is one of the main attractions while visiting Skagway. We took the train ride up the mountain during our first visit to Alaska in 2006. During World War II, some of the Aleutian Islands of Alaska were occupied by Japan. My grandfather was a Seabee stationed in Sitka during the war. The Seabees were the naval construction battalions of soldiers who built air bases on some of the key islands in the Aleutian chain to counter the Japanese invasion. Today, the oil and gas industry makes up 80% of Alaska's revenue. Excluding oil and gas, seafood is Alaska's main export product. Tourism is also important to Alaska's economy. In 2023, some 50 cruise ships will do about 700 cruises to Alaska and bring 1.65 million visitors to the state. On this day, there are 4 cruise ships visiting Ketchikan. Each ship carries thousands of passengers who get off to spend money in the many tourist shops, restaurants, and tour excursions operated by the locals.